Hello and welcome to Ahrex fly tying. My name is Håkan and today I will be tying a salmon fly. And the salmon fly tied on a double hook. This is the Ellis shrimp and we will be tying this on the double low water, the HR 424. This is the size 8. And we set the thread just above the hook point. And we start with the tag, which is we use the fine oval silver tinsel. Tie it in on the underside of the hook shanks and just above the hook point. And then we wind the silver tinsel in touching turns backwards towards the hook bend and 4 or 5 turns, and then we just pull the silver tinsel between the hooks and tie it in on top of the hook shank. And I tie it down all the way to the eye because the body is made out of floss and we want a neat and smooth underbody for the floss. And then I tie in the ribbing. It's also a silver tinsel, but slightly thicker. This is the size small. And tight. Set it on the underside of the hook shank and tie it down all the way back. Beware of the hook points. As it's a double hook, it's easy to snap the thread. And the tail is made of orange bucktail. So just cut off a few hair strands. Make sure they are even. And the tips, just hold the tips and just pull off the hair too short. Move upwards a bit. That should work. And we make the tail 1.5 times the hook shank. Tie it down. And instead of just cut off the waist ends, we tie them down as well along the shank. Again, to make smooth underbody. And the first part of the body is red flossilk. So we just tie in a piece. Oops. And we tie it down like we did with the silver tinsel along the shank all the way back. And then we make the first part a bit shorter than half the shank, because if we make it split in 2 even parts, the front part will look shorter once the wing and hackle is tied on. And again, tie it down along the shank. And then we take some black floss and do the same. Tie it in on the underside and back to where we ended the red part. Then we just make sure there's no gap between the 2 colors. Make sure the floss is laid flat and tie it. And then we take the oval silver and make 5 even turns and tie. This fly has a collar hackle, which means we will tie it in as the last part of the fly. So now for the wing, which is made of 2 different materials, gray squirrel and golden pheasant tippet. So we start with the squirrel. Cut off a small bundle of hair, and we measure it so it's as long as the shank or just back to the hook bend. And we cut off the waist end and tie it in. Make sure it lays flat over the body. And then I take 2 feathers from the tippet and I clear off the waist so the wings are as long as, well, back to the hook bend. I need to pull off some more fibers. And make sure that both feathers are the same size before we put them together. Make sure they are even in the tips. And then we use tweezers or small plier to flatten the stem, to make it easier to tie it in. So just hold them together, and then we just pull the root ends down, move the pliers, and make a 90 degrees turn. So you make sort of a step. And this way we will make the wing sit low on top of the squirrel. Just make sure it doesn't turn. Like this. And just tie it down to secure it. And cut off the root end. And the only thing left now is the hackle, which is orange, and I'm using hand hackle. And as I always do, you raise the fibers, cut off the tip, and tie it in by the tip, because it's much easier to wind the hackle. You don't need a hackle plier. And the stem is also thinner towards the tip, so it doesn't build up as much and be bulky as if you use the root end of the hackle. And just stroke back the fibers as you wind the hackle. It's called doubling the hackle. 3 or 4 turns like this, and just tie in and cut off. And the only thing left now is to build up the head. It's not easy to pull the fibers away from the head because you have 2 hook points to look out for. Just make a small head and then a whip finish. And just make a couple of layers with varnish to finish the fly off. And there we have Ally's shrimp tied on a double hook.